Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Van Diaz, back with another Card 5 Vanguard deck profile. So because you're to come subscribe and story. This time we are covering DZ Set 2 Dark States Astroea deck profile. So, yeah, I don't know why they keep giving old support to old decks. I mean, I know why, but it feels like the old decks are getting a lot more support inherently than like the Divine decks, because I mean, at least for what I have planned for recording, and by the way, this is only the third deck profile I'm recording, there's at least 15 deck profiles, and if I did the math right, either 8 or 9 of them are just old decks that already pre-existed. Like, it kind of just goes to show you that the Divine decks are not getting that much area of expertise. But whatever, let's go and get started and see what we got, because honestly, the 2 support cards that we got are support cards that I say were desperately needed, to be more exact, one of them in particular. So I'm going to get started. First up, we have our Energy Generator, so the standard card every deck runs now. It's a Ride deck crest. You might have one Ride deck crest in your Ride deck. Auto Ride deck, when you would ride, put this card into your crest zone. If you want second energy, charge 3. Continuous, you may have to 10 energy. Auto at the beginning of your ride phase, energy charge 3, and then act once per turn. Energy boss 7 to draw a card. All around pretty solid because it gets you 3 free energy, and the new grade 1 that really helps out your deck's playstyle only costs 3 energy, so you can pretty much use it every turn, and when you're not using it, you can use it to get a draw, which is pretty solid all around. So the energy generator is just a 1 of, because you always want to run in your Ride deck. And of course, we have our actual Ride deck cards. First, we run 1 copy in the Ride deck as our main grade 0. Just our Peepus equals Mulchi, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base, auto put on for second draw card, standard starter. None about it. None of the Ride line really requires Mulchi, so you can run any starter you want, but Moon, that is my bias. That is the only reason why she's here. That, and she fits the Almar Just Our line, which, you know, I try to follow theme, so one of Mulchi just because of that and nothing else. Then we move on to our triggers. First, we run Over Trigger and Terrifying Wicked Dragon King Vampires, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Over trigger in your deck. When you as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one means against what's moving for the turn. In your vivid during draw check, activate. It's a disfect which you get during your turn. All your vanguards get plus 10 cannon crit until this fight. I swear, as D has gone on, you would think that we have found ways to get the over more active, where you would see the over more actively. I saw the over, at least for Dark States, collectively, I think like twice more now in the first 2 sets of like D in general than I have since set 2 of D. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I've seen the over sacked so many times in those first 2 sets, and then after that point it's like a rare occurrence, and I can't tell you why. But either way, though, if you do end up getting to sack it offensively, you're giving a Vanguard an extra 10k and a crit, meaning your opponent always has to block it. And in a deck where the Vanguard could possibly either get a rear guard restand, get another extra crit, and will most likely have triple drive in some way, shape, or form, yeah, Van Freeze is pretty good. You can run Volna from a multi-attack, but since Baiko kind of handles that well, I'd rather have Van Freeze to consistently make sure Baiko could possibly have the extra crit. Also, just pressure throughout the entire game, because Volna only applies pressure for 1 turn. If you pull this on turn 1, your opponent's dead that second, so 1 of Van Freeze is just good for pressure. Then we run 3 draw tricks and Rouse Wild Master Riley, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, Canoe's Guard Soak, opponent's Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, 5k shield. So, you know, pretty solid. You know, it's a 10k shield that could help defend you in later stages, and it's a draw trick, so it helps increase the hand. You can run front triggers, but the deck already has enough like offensive power as is, in my opinion, so I like to have the draw to, you know, get into my consistent piece a little more often. And to be more specific, the one time I want to draw triggers, specifically crits, and of course the one deck I want to draw crits in, it proceeds to not let me draw crits, and which is why we run 8 crits. So 4 copies of Flinty Slasher, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. This can be any crit. I just used to run Flinty Slasher because she was the first crit that came to mind, and I copied this deck in tabletop off of Barrow Magnus, which originally had Flinty Slasher in it, so I was just too lazy to change it. So 4 Flinty, and then we have 4 copies of Stem Devia Dragon, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear guard, the amount of booster, put it to soul, choose when you reach 2k for the turn. All around pretty solid. It helps increase the soul, so if you need an extra way to get the crit in there, not like you need to, because if you get it out of deck at all, automatically it's going into the soul one way or another, unless it hit the damage zone. And even then, as long as you pull a heal, which this deck loves to pull for some reason, then yeah, you're probably getting into the soul one way or another. But if you need an extra way to get into soul, you can, and it'll get something 2k. But it's mainly here because it's a crit, and you know, you could say it's here for crit pressure because we're gonna pressure out the opponent's Vanguard. No, you put it in here because that's literally required for the Vanguard's main skill to go off. So 8 crits in total. Then we have 4 copies of Caper Companion, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power, standard heal, nuts about it. You can really run any heal you want. I would have run the Direful Doll over her. The reason why I didn't, and it's going to be seeming questionable because normally I try to base it off the anime character more or less, at least the trigger lineup. I just didn't feel like it because, again, I copied this deck. Well, I copied the crit at least from Barrow, but then I copied this from Jadjuld. And the thing was, Caper has proven herself so much. Like, I have Miracle Sacked her, especially Jadjuld, where Like, if I pull her at all in the opening stages, I know that I'm actively going to drive check or damage check all 4 heals, and at least 3 of them are going off. Like, I am not kidding. Like, we can go, like, watch every match I've had straight up, and it will actually prove to be a point. But, Caper Companion, so useful. She has been my miracle lifesaver, and she's actually the reason why I didn't run the Daffodil. That's not because I'm lazy, but it's genuinely because Caper Companion has proven so useful. So, 4 for her. Then we move on to our grade 1s, 2 copies of Twin Marvel Dragon, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Okay, we got a beautiful red moon in the background. For those of you that don't know, I actually did see a red moon when I was younger. I think it's called a blood moon. I don't remember. I just remember it was in Temecula, California when I was in the 3rd grade. So that was about, as I tried to like do the math, 12 years ago? Question mark? Wait, no, that's not, that math is horribly wrong. The 9 years ago, I think that was when that blood moon was. Either way, though, that was a completely random story. Twin Marvel, auto rearguard, once per turn when you soul blast 3 or more cards at the same time with the Vanguard's ability, which both Baiko and regular Astro do. Look at the top card of your deck, put it at the top or soul, and then this unit gets 2k for the turn. All around pretty solid because it helps stack triggers, or it can get you more soul cards, which is all around pretty solid because it either means you can use Baiko or Astro more consistently, or it means you're stacking a trigger that turn. All around Twin Marvel is a very good grade 1. I do like his skill a lot, and we only run him at a 2 though because he doesn't really do much to get crits into soul, while everyone else here does get crits into soul, but he's nice for battle phase support, so 2 of. Then we move on to 3 copies of Irem Capricornus, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. This is my favorite of the Almagestros grade 1, and I remember everyone shitting on him when he first got revealed, and that brought me so much pain to my heart, like how Stilt is my favorite youth bird grade 1 by a long shot. Fuck Sequina, I will die on this hill, and everyone hates Stilt, but you know what, I'm still gonna die on this hill. I love Stilt, but that point aside, Capricornus, auto rearguard with this unit boost. If you have Vanguard, Almagestros card name, choose up to 1 trigger unit from your hand or drop zone, put it to soul. You put a card from your hand, draw a card. This is one of the cards that I really love because it shows that they knew what they were doing when they made Almagestros. They could have easily made Almagestros be like, everything you have to send to soul has to be a crit. But it doesn't. I mean, yes, technically speaking, it does, so you can use Baiko and Unica more consistently, but all the support cards just say send a trigger. So if worse comes to worse, and at some points when playing this deck, because the crits don't like to show up, you can use them to just send other triggers into soul, so you still get your effects off. Maybe not your main grade 3s, but at least your supporting cards get to go off. And they're not super broken, so therefore they don't have to hit anything. So all around, Capricorn is very solid. It helps filter out cards, it helps get you more soul cards, and it's very fun just to like any extra soul that you get from Baiko or Unica, because like they're still triggers, but they're not critical triggers, so they don't get bound. You can use Capricorn, just send them right back, so you know you get more soul. So 3 of Capricornus, all around a very solid grade 1. I love him a lot, and screw anyone who says he's bad. I will die on this hill. He's a good grade 1. Then we move on to 4 copies of straight up the best grade 1 support card that I've ever seen printed, if not like... Actually, I already messed up the line. I was going to say, if one of the best grade 1 support cards I've ever printed, if not the best grade 1 support card I've ever seen printed. Star Slave Demonic Lady Bifrons. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto when she's placed on rearguard circle from the hand. Card boss will only top 3 cards of your deck. Choose a card from among them. Put it to your hand, choose a card from among them, put it to soul, and then discard the rest. So, 1 goes to drop, 1 goes to soul, 1 goes to hand. That's just good inherently, because it's generic. It only costs a single CB. You get a soul out of it, you get a hand card, and you get a drop zone card, which can be useful, especially in a deck where anything can just send triggers from drop to soul. And then act rearguard once per turn. If you have a Vanguard Almagestor in its card name, Soul Blast 1 and Energy Blast 3. Search after 1 card with Estreo in its card name, or up to 1 critical trigger, put it to your soul, shuffle it, and then if you put a card, choose up to 1 card from your drop zone with a different card name from this unit, and from a different name for this unit, and grade equal to or less than to your Vanguard, and you may call it to rearguard circle. So, not only does it replace the soul that it's Soul Blast, but it uses energy, the only card in this deck that actually uses energy outside of the order, and then more importantly, it can get you a rear guard, or if you don't want to because your board is already full, like you already have a perfect board, you don't need to call. Bifrons is an amazing grade 1, because not only does she also search an Estreo, I forgot to mention that, because that's important for Baiko, who needs to bind Unica in order to proc off her triple drive and rear guard kill. So not only can she fetch out Estreo if you need that, because you already have your criticals, but also she just gets you a critical, and the only thing you have to do is be on an Almagestor Vanguard. Oh, I wonder who an Almagestor Vanguard is. You literally don't even need to be on Unica to use her. In fact, if you go second and you get the energy charge, you can proc this on turn 1. Bifrons is an amazing grade 1. I've been waiting for a card like this since Unica's release. They knew what they were doing, and it was worth the wait. 4 of. Now we move on to our PGs. 4 copies of Repelled Malice Dragon. I'm sorry, I just need to go back to this. This card is busted. This card's actually good. Like, this is singularly the best support card I have ever seen. Again, proccable on grade 1 if you go second. And if you don't go second, it's still proccable on grade 2. Okay, anyways, back to the PG. Continue Sentinel. You have up to 4 summons in the deck. On spawn guard circle. Choose one of you. It cannot be hit in the battle. And if your hand has 2 or more cards in it, choose a card from this card to standard PG. Nothing too special about it. Basically means if this only one of the cards in a play a hand, you place it on guard circle. You don't have to discard one. It's great because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game. Back row, front row, beat the shit out of your opponent, force them to kill this because if they don't, it will be the death of them. And then Twin Marvel for early game rushing. And then when your opponent eventually counterattacks you because they know they're dead once you hit grade 3. Throw down Repelled Malice, give him the middle finger. Like, all around, it's just good, and this deck aggroes so well, because even if you lose all of your crits early on, either via Bifrons, or, like, you just consistently draw into them, or, like, search for them, you still have enough pressure with a crit-based Vanguard, and then a restanding rear guard almost every turn, to the point where, yeah, they're gonna block anyways. All you have to do is just stall them out. So 4 Repelled Malice is just a good PG, and it's nice to have. And then we have our last grade 1 in the deck. One of them in the right deck, none in the main deck, because honestly you don't need any in the main deck, and that's Almagistra Sword equals Sparta. So first up, beautiful Crescent Moon in the background. I love that. I also love the Shadow Sword and her blue hair, which is weird, because normally I'm not a fan of blue hair. Anyways, Grid on boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and Rotopon by Almagistra, 2 rank equals Dyna. Soul Charge 2, and if the Soul Charge card was a critical trigger, draw a card. I want to just be clear, and I said it in editing too, when I edited the match with Almagistra against, I don't remember who it was, but I rarely pull off that ability, and yet this version of the deck, I pulled it off. And there was a game that was off camera because it lagged, but I pulled that skill off twice that day. And that game that was off camera was the first game that I pulled it in. And it was the first game I played with this version of the deck. I just want to let that be clear. Like, this version of the deck has had a higher success rate of getting that draw, and it's only played 4 matches. I just need to make that point clear. Anyways, active rear guard once per turn. If your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, buying 1 trigger from your soul can be a crit. It does help out, but you know, worst comes to worst, any other trigger works too. And this unit will get plus 10,000 power to end of turn. All around pretty solid. 18k. Sadly, it doesn't go off if your opponent's at grade 2 because otherwise that actually would be lethal. Because Baiko doesn't require the opponent to be at grade 3. Granted, you don't get the persona right by going into Baiko while your opponent's at grade 2, but getting a restanding rear guard with an 18k booster behind it, that would be kind of busted. So sadly, she doesn't work while they're at grade 2, but once they get to grade 3, it's all fair game, and you can beat the ever-living shit out of your opponent. So, 1 of Sparta, she gets you soul, she possibly gets you a draw, and she's a nice 18k booster who can give you more bind zone cards, so it's one of them in the right deck. Then move on to our grade 2s. Run 3 copies of Griffith's Chimera, grade 2 instead of 5k shield, 10k base, auto when placed on the rear guard circle. If you have Vanguard Almagistra on its card name, ditch a hand card, look at the top 2, choose a card from among them, put it to your hand, put the rest on the top or in your soul, and this unit gets 5,000 power until the end of the turn. All around pretty solid because it does get you a hand card to replace the thing you discard. Again, like most discard cards, it's typically your hand, or at least for me, it's typically there's a card in my hand that I really want to keep, and everything else is cards you really shouldn't discard. So it's basically, what do I discard here, and how much am I willing to bet on the top 2 cards being something that I need? Anyways, being able to add something to hand and then possibly put something to soul, or stack a crit to the top, because Chimera can do that apparently, and then give it 5k on top of that, is all around pretty solid. Griffith's Chimera is a very solid grade 2, and is just really good. You know what's funny too? This deck is the one that has struggled the least in getting crits into soul. Like, it's not even because of Bifrons. Like, don't get me wrong, Bifrons is busted as all hell. But, like, straight up, Chimera has stacked, like, double crits to my top at one point. So, or, like, not double crits, but, you know, I've used Chimera once to look at the top 2, and then there was a crit among them one time, and then I forgot what this other one was Griffin's Chimera, so I add that one to hand. Then I called the other one, and I looked at top 2, both of them are crits. I just sent one to soul, and I kept the other one on top, and then I just swing, and the reason why I did that is, oh wait, no, I didn't send one to soul, I added that one to hand, and I swung, and the reason why I say stack double crits technically is because it got me 2 crits and run. Anyways, Chimera, very good grade 2, 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of Phonograph Opera Star, grade 2 instead of 5k shield, 10k base, beat stick galore. Auto when she's placed on rear guard circle, if a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, Almagistra on its card name, card boss 1, draw a card. Okay, so if you really need a hand card, you can use it, and then continues rear guard during your turn. It gets plus 5,000 power for every 2 critical triggers in your bind zone. I want this to be clear as well. Before this version of the deck, I would rarely get 6 criticals in bind zone. So far, out of the 4 matches, 3 of them I've had 6 crits in bind, and 1 of them I had 4. Or not 4. One of them I had 8. So all 8. Which means in one of those games she got plus 20, and in the other 2 she got plus 15. Guess who was responsible for that? give you a hint, it's the cards I'm hovering over right now. Phonograph's just a really good card. She's a nice beat stick, and definitely during your restand turn with Baiko, she's amazing because Baiko pretty much doubles her power, and then you'll get an extra attack with her. She's just really great, and she even acts as a nice beat stick for regular Unico as well. So 4 of Operas are just a very good grade 2, and she's just nice to have. Then we have 4 copies of Kit's Peak Griffin, slowly but surely becoming the worst grade 2. I think that the next support card they give us is probably going to be Kit's Peak's time to go, because he's carried us. I think he's the only originating card from the first line of support outside of Unico. Actually, yeah, no, that statement is actually true. Outside of the PG, actually, yeah, and Capricornus, Kits is the only remaining card from the original deck. So, pretty cool that he's still around. And it was great to 5k shield, 10k base, auto rear guard. When this unit is placed on the rear guard circle, if you have Vanguard, Amethyst, or Carnage, choose any 2 triggers from your drop zone, put in the soul. Again, I really love the fact that the entire deck, or most of the support cards, don't really require specifically critical triggers from the skill. They just require any form of trigger, so pretty solid that it can get any 2 cards into your soul, so free soul charge 2. And then continues rear guard or guard circle. If you have a critical trigger in your bind zone, a single critical trigger, it gets plus 5,000 power and 5,000 shield, acting while the player's turns. So 15k power, 10k shield is nice to have. Again, we have bigger beat sticks and better searching support, so you're probably never going to call this to rear guard unless you have to. But being able to get a possible beat stick if you really need it is nice. And again, it is a free soul charge too. So worst case scenario, even if like you don't have crits in your drop zone anymore, but you need the soul for like Baiko or Unico over here, you can just use Kit's Peak to get you 2 soul. I have actually had to do that one time, and it legitimately won me the game. So 4 of Kit's Peak Griffin, just a very solid grade 2. And the day that I have to ditch him, I will actually cry because he has carried me so much. I will cry the day I have to remove both him and Aram Capricornus. The day that deck comes to play, I will cry because I lost 2 of my favorite cards, but 4 of Kit's Peak. Then we have our last grade 2 in the deck, one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck, and that's Almagestar Turan equals Dino, grade 2 instead 5k shield, 10k base. Auto and choose Rotopon by unit of the Strayo and its card name. Choose Almagestar Swart equals Sparta from your soul. Call to rear guard and this unit to rear guard as well. They don't have to be in the same columns, but typically I tend to call them to the same columns. And then act rear guard once per turn. If you have Vanguard Almagestar and its card name, Chiron Boss 1, choose 2 triggers from your drop zone, put them to your soul, and this unit gives 1,000 power for that turn. All around pretty solid because, again, just like Kit's Peak, it doesn't specifically have to send 2 crits on the soul, but most likely it will. She'll be at 15k, which is solid. And not to mention that, she helps get another rear guard onto board, meaning your opponent has to kill this, because I promise you, at least when you're playing against me, if you leave her on the board, it will be the death of you. It legitimately will be the death of you. Every single time someone has left this on my board, it slowly became the death of them, and it was so fun as like you realize that it built up everything, and then it was the reason they died because they were so focused on killing everything else. And then Sparta, well, Sparta's an 18k beat stick, so yeah, there's that. Either way though, Turan is very nice. You don't need it in the main deck because it can call itself out, and we have other cards that we want to run in the main deck as well. So one of in the right deck of Dinah, but she can't call herself like Sparta. Then move on to our grade 3s. 2 copies of Almagest Cellsphere. I swear this wasn't in the deck, so either I forgot something or it is in this deck and I just didn't see it at all. Take that as you will. If this deck has extra cards in it, then this is the card that I forgot to take out. But anyways, Cellsphere, grade 3 normal order. Play this card if you have an Astro Vanguard in his card name. Counter charge 1, and then choose 3 triggers from your drop zone, show them to soul. Okay, let's just stop it there. Let's just stop there for a second. You get a free reach CC. Like, the only requirement being you have an Estrella Vanguard. You don't even have to put the 3 triggers into soul. You just need the 1 CC. Cool. And then you get 3 triggers into soul. So automatically Baiko is free. And then Unica just gets you a free CC with it. But then on top of that, if a card with this drone and its card name was removed this turn, so you do have to be on Baiko for this one, choose a Vanguard and it gets a crit for the turn. So this is basically your way to give Baiko, like, Unica's full treatment and then still get the rear guard restand. But, even if you don't do that second half, which half the time I do and half the time I don't, you just get free resources all by just having the Estrella Vanguard, regardless if it's Unica or Baiko. This is a good 2 of. Like, this is just resource on legs. The only downside to it is it's a grade 3 normal order. That's it, that it doesn't have guard power. That's its literally only downside. 2 of. Then we have 3 copies of our other grade 3 normal order. Mask of Hedrogum, grade 3 normal order. Look at top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with Shiro Mask has for among them. Reveal, put it to hand, shuffle your deck. And then act drop zone. If you have a grade 3 Vanguard about Mask Kazan's card name, reveal a grade 3 card with Mask and his card name from your hand. And write the reveal card as the cost for stand. If you roll, put this card into your soul. And if your opponent's Vanguard's a grade 3 or grade, you do not Persona Ride this turn, activate Persona Ride. All around pretty solid because big beat stick with its skill, even bigger beat stick. And with this thing's skill, even bigger beat stick. So all around, Mask is good. It does get you searches. What I've learned, or at least in the Dark States variant, what I've learned to do if I'm not playing Omino Grizio, never use that skill to check the top 5. It will be more of a detriment to me than a plus. Literally, after the 15 games with Jadruld, I learned 2 things. A, Skullcandy and everything but Omino Grizio is useless. And then B, don't use the skill to search top 5 because it will rarely ever go off. I am not kidding. I still remember that game, and I will still forever be haunted by the fact it lost 15 times to Youthberg before winning one. And so many times it came close to winning, but it lost to trigger sacking. And most of the time it didn't even get the mask out because either the mask went missing, Skull went missing, or the mask itself went missing. It's just a whole thing, and I will forever let that game live infinitely in my head. Either way, Mask of Hedrogum, free Persona Ride. It's nice to have. You do not need this top 5 skill at all, but it's just a good card, so 3 of. And we have 3 copies of Xeno Almagestar Estrella Bike equals Baiko Masquez, or Mask, if you choose to pronounce it the way it's supposed to be pronounced. Grade 2, 10% 30k base, continuous, it can only be written from a grade 3 of the Estrella in its card name, so it doesn't count herself. And then Act Vanguard, once per turn, move a card with the Estrella in its different card name from your hand, soul, or drop zone. This, it automatically gets you one from the ride deck. This will give you more benefit the second this skill goes off. And where is she? This automatically hits that regardless. So each grade has something that gets that and works with that skill. Choose an opponent's rear guard, kill it, and then this unit go to drive for the turn. So triple drive, which is nice. And then auto Vanguard, when this unit attacks, counterblast when it's Soul Blast 3. Bind all critical triggers Soul Blaster for the cost. And then choose one of your rear guard, stand it. And both that and this unit will get plus 5,000 power 10 of the turn for every 2 critical triggers in your bind zone. So if you have 4, which you most likely will most of the time, that's a plus 10 to both. If you have 6, 15, and if by some miracle of God you have 8, that's plus 20. Plus a Persona Ride, that's plus 30. All around, Baiko is very solid. She gets you more numbers, she gets you more attack, she gets you triple drive. I will say this, up to this point in the deck, or to be more exact, up to the last point in the deck, so basically set 13 of the Estrella deck, it was not a good idea to sit on Baiko for more than a turn because it was going to eat away at your CB. Set 13 made it a little bit better. I forgot why, but it just felt a lot more consistent to where if I had to sit on Baiko, I could afford to. This version of the deck, you can sit on Baiko 100% of the way. If you really need to sit on Baiko to multi-attack your opponent down, or simply because you don't have Unica, even if you don't Persona Ride after you hard ride Baiko once, or even just like, regular Persona Ride it, even if you just do it that one time, you're in a good position just to sit on it the entire game. Baiko used to be a finisher, now she can actually sustain herself because of the existence of this grade 1. And because of the existence of this grade 2, which could possibly hit a copy of Unica into Soul. 3 of Baiko Masquez. She's a very solid, and combining it with the order, she is literally free. And then we have a last card in the deck. 2 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck of Almagestar Estrella equals Unica, grade 3, 200% 13k base. Auto Vanguard, when a trigger unit is Soul Blaster for the cost of this unit's ability, choose one of your units, it gives 5k for the turn. Okay, again, this is why you want to spam Capricorn 24/7, because if you have to sit on her the entire game, you can just keep looping back triggers into Soul. And then Auto Vanguard, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, Soul Blast 3, bind all critical triggers from your Soul Blaster for this cost, and then perform all the following according to the number of critical triggers in your bind zone, not the total amount of criticals bound during that skill. So if you have 1 or more crits in your bind zone, choose the most rear guard, kill it. 2 or more, she gets an extra crit for that battle. 3 or more, she gets extra drive. All around pretty solid because this deck can easily hit 3 while your opponent's at grade 2. Meaning while your opponent's at grade 2, she's a double crit, triple drive, rear guard killing beat stick, which granted could possibly have a total of plus 10 going to her column if you boost her, because she can give the 5k to anyone. Meaning, let's just say she's boosted by Capricorn like I normally do with her. So that's 21 plus an additional 10. She's a 31 double crit, triple drive beat stick. And if your opponent doesn't guard that, I can guarantee you they will probably die. In fact, there's literally a video on this channel where I fight against my friend Oolong/ET/Wandering Mandala/whatever he chooses to go by, where quite literally he was at grade 2, and I did that. I think I did almost that exact same play to him. He took it while he was at 2 damage, I think, and then I just double critted him down. Unica is a good grade 3. She is amazing if you're going first because she automatically applies early game pressure, and if you need to sit on her, you very much can, which is why the extra Persona Rides are in here, because she can be deadly with a consistent critical triple drive and rear guard attack, because once you pull it off once, you automatically pull it off for the rest of the game. All around very solid. 2 of them in the main deck, 1 of them in the ride deck, just a good card to have. And that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is very fun to play. I loved Unica since she came out, and even though Baiko's original appearance was annoying and made the deck feel inconsistent to me, as time has gone on, it felt like it got a lot better. And now with the release of our newest grade 1 support card, who if you can't tell I'm in love with, yeah, I think this deck is really fun, and I can't wait to play more of it. So I'm just one here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on this one. Don't forget to set up your Vanguards.